What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the machine shed. I haven't made a video on the car in quite some time, and for that I'm really sorry. I wanted to say, first of all, to all my other C4 Corvette guys out there, all the comments, the messages I got from people, thank you so much. Even just comments and stuff like that give me the motivation to keep moving forward, even when sometimes it's hard to do. I had some issues this past month, let me tell you, including getting coronavirus. So that was an interesting experience. But as you can see, we have gotten a lot done in the car, including firing it up for the first time, which I'll put in a clip in of right here. But not only that, we've basically got the build done for the most part. There's a lot of little things that have to come together, but I wanted to take you through the car, show you what's going on with it, make a quick video today explaining everything that we've got done in the car and the few things that we have to finish up yet. All right, here we go. I guess we can start at the front. As you can see here, I've got a block of wood down there yet because I don't have my radiator top, or whatever you want to call that deal that goes up top there. I don't have that on yet. And when we get that on, we're going to go ahead and run bolts straight through that to support the intercooler. And then on the lower portion there, I'm going to make just some metal brackets that will screw onto the bottom screw mounts. Yeah, and I guess we'll just work our way back. So for our upper radiator hose, we've just got a 03 Silverado radiator hose, which did pretty well. You can see it starts down here, and it does have an upward curve that we don't need, but it still fits actually really, really well. Wraps around our charge pipe there and into our water pump. Let's see, where should we go next? For our belt here, we have, remember we did power steering delete. So we have no power steering, no air conditioning. All I did was get a 76-inch 6-rib belt and throw it on there. And it fits well. There is some movement on this side of the belt. So I actually have a pulley that there's two holes down yonder where the power steering pump fits. So I'm going to actually fit an old air conditioning pulley down there on that top hole. And that's one of the things I'll show you in another video when we get that done. Moving up here, we've got our VS Racing 50 mil blow off. And actually, we'll just pop this off. And I've got that teed into the vacuum source at the top of the manifold here. Then that runs over to the VS Racing wastegate on the side here. I guess another big component, it was actually the last video I made before I got sick, was building this crossover pipe. And as you can see, the crossover pipe goes down right just underneath the water pump pulley, wraps up and around to the driver's side header there. And now I did have some V-bands that I bought especially for this project, but you know, the truck manifolds already had those on, and I'm not sure this is my final iteration of the crossover pipe. So I actually saved them, but I do have some 2.5-inch V-bands for the manifold. All things considered, I was thinking about flipping around and going underneath the car again now, but we'll have to see how it performs in the real world before we decide that. For a turbocharger, we've just got the Chinese GT45. And again, you know, just kind of a budget thing. I had spent enough money and I decided I'm going to go with a cheap turbo. We're going to have fun with this, and then we're going to upgrade that to S475 most likely. But we'll just have to see again how this, you know, performs in the real world, because I really have no clue. For the lower radiator hose, it's hard to see down there, but that's actually our stock C4 Corvette lower radiator hose. And down where it comes into the radiator, I had to cut it at an angle so that it would fit. And it is a little bit squished, which is concerning. This is something we might have to come back to. And it rubs right here where our C4 cross, or our control arm comes over here. There's this steel plate. It rubs on the back. So what I've done to kind of protect it from that, as well as the heat coming off of this crossover pipe, first of all, we have all of our crossover pipes and manifolds all wrapped with header wrap. That stuff that's, you know, impregnated with fiberglass. It's extremely itchy. And then we have actually, this is HVAC 380, so that will give it some more heat protection. But that is sort of something that we might have to come back to. I might end up taking this crossover pipe and essentially bringing it up higher and making it duck down further up here by the water pump pulley, because heat might be an issue there. But again, I'm not entirely sure. We have to see how the car performs out on the road and at the track, and if stuff is melting, then we'll kind of fix it. Another little thing here on our C4s, we have our coolant temperature sending unit. Goes right in this hole. My temperature sending unit was broken, and I didn't feel like even using it because we actually have Holley Terminator on here now. So what I did was I tapped that with a 7/16 by 24 tap, and then Teflon taped the ever-living snot out of a 7/16 by 24, threaded that in, and that's good, no leaks. So just plug that off essentially. Here we have our coolant overflow line. Now I put a 3/8 T in the coolant overflow line, run that down to our overflow tank, which just has these two bolts for now, and then I'll be putting a steel bar underneath it, but it's just got two bolts in it for now, kind of for setup purposes. And the other side of this T runs up and over here and goes up underneath the LS manifold there, or the LS throttle body, and that goes to connect your steam ports. This is a truck motor from 03, and this one in particular only has the steam ports on the front of the motor. I know some of them have 4. This one has 2 with block off plugs on the back. That was one thing I was considering doing the 4, but I figure it should be fine. Run it with the 2. Obviously, having this radiator so low, as we all know, even with our stock C4s, we have issues upon issues bleeding these things. They can be a nightmare, and that's definitely going to be true with this motor. So what I actually ended up doing was lifting the front end up of the car as high as possible to get this radiator cap up, and then I filled my motor with water, then filled my radiator with water, and still, just like when we bleed our L98s or even your small block Chevy swap, it's still going to take some work. You know, I've freaking bled this system with this is the 3rd motor now that I've had in this, and I'm never able to get it right on the first time. I can always get it close, but I'm always coming back to it and filling it with more. So, and I misspoke. What I meant to say on this sensor, that's the coolant level, not the coolant temp. I apologize. I messed up on that. So anyways, moving on, we've got our dump tube here going down to the LS timing cover. Unfortunately, the drain fitting that I got would not fit behind that that pulley there. So I TIG welded my own 3/8 45 elbow on there, which was shorter. And then just as a just in case measure, I JB welded the ever living crap out of the outside of it because I don't want to deal with that leaking oil all the time. But yeah, so that kind of wraps it up for the front of the motor. And then of course we've still got our fan, our C4 fan, and I've got that wired to a toggle so that I can run that basically nonstop when the car is running, because most of the time, well, really the only time I drove it last year was at the track. You know, I very rarely drive it uptown, and you know, out on the road I won't run the fan, but at the car show and whatnot, the traffic is usually so heavy that it gets ran all the time anyway. So yeah, moving on, other C4 stuff. We've got our C4 stock throttle cable, okay? And then we've got our stock LS 5.3 throttle bracket. And what I did was flip the throttle bracket upside down, okay? Then I cut off the secondary portion here of the LS throttle bracket. I welded on a square portion off of any pole cable style trans, any older style trans. Any one of these brackets will have the square that retains this adjustment here. And so, yeah, so I cut a square out, welded that in, just threw some paint on it so it won't rust. And there we've got our kickdown cable bracket. This cable here is actually a B&M adjustable kickdown cable. You can get them in any parts store. They're a little bit more pricey than I would like, but they work really well. It's got an adjustment screw. I guess you can't see it because it's below all the wires, but you can make the cable itself any length you want. They give you tons and tons of extra wire here. And then as far as the actual connection to the throttle plate here, let me see if I can get a better shot of this. Let me make sure I'm showing this. Okay, so if you can see this fixture here that has a stud on it, this is a stock LS. This little plastic piece comes stock on LS. I cut it off. Normally it faces this way, right? So I think northeast, normally where it faces. I cut it off here, flipped it over, and welded it on in the southwest position. Then I took my adjustable cable here, ran it through the LS plastic fixture, and put my one of these retaining screws, right? It has a brass, I don't know what you call this, brass cylinder, and you run your cable through, put the screw down, it holds it in place. And that's what keeps it from going through the plastic fixture there. But all said and done, it has really, really good travel on it. And it gives you all the adjustment that you need. So for the throttle cable, I cut off the LS, this end here, okay? This is off of the LS as well. This was the old LS throttle cable. I cut off the length with the lead piece on it, ran it up through our stock C4 Corvette throttle cable, okay? And then used another one of these cylinder style with a screw to hold these two cords together. Now to do two cords, you have to drill out the center of the cylinder to make it larger because they're only small enough for the cable to go through one time. Then, of course, all the guys got to do is floor your throttle body and make it so that the pedal matches up. Once you get the pedal done, then you can make your transmission adjustment. Bada bing, bada boom. It's actually really, really simple, but that's one of the things that we got to worry about. Over here, we kind of have a jumble of wires still because I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with these. We have our Holley Terminator fuel pump solenoid. That's going to be screwed here. We have one of our fuses here. I believe this one is for the fuel pump actually, but that'll go up against the firewall as well. And of course, we did lose the whole entire HVAC dam, and then we punched a hole through here, and that's where all of our Holley, our main Holley harness goes into, our Holley power wires, everything goes into the car there. And then the computer sits in the passenger footwell. And again, this is kind of, the wiring's a little bit of a mess right now, but it's just because I haven't finalized everything. You can see I've got the wideband cord still sitting here. I haven't decided whether I'm going to shorten this or tie it up. I really don't want to cut the harness in any way. Here's another cool thing I wanted to show you guys, and also warn you about. So here we have our, this orange wire is the power for our C4 Corvette fuel pump relay. Okay, this is the power up. Now the red wire is the other side of the relay, right? So when our fuel pump relay powers up, this is sending power through the relay. Once the trigger wire triggers the relay, it sends 12 volts to this red wire that's on the fuel pump solenoid for a C4. All we have to do is take this green wire right here from our Holley Terminator and connect it with our red wire, okay? Because this is 12 volt, especially made for the fuel pump, and that wire is fed through the Holley Terminator fuel pump relay. So really, really simple. And here's the warning. I bought, for this build, I bought a Bosch 44 300 liter per hour fuel pump. And a guy that I know by name of Austin, he is like a pro with these builds. He's done a bunch of this stuff. And he was telling me, hey, go E85, E85. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't think I have enough pump. I just kind of want to do pump gas, you know? And I feel like he jinxed me, because that Bosch 44, I kid you not, we ran the car. The car's got maybe 15 minutes total runtime. And guess what? We went to start the car last night and tinker after work, and no fuel pump, none whatsoever. So I'm beating my head against the wall, going through all the wiring. That's why this wiring's opened up. That's why this feed is here too, by the way, guys. I left this constant power out just in case we had an issue at any time with our Holley fuel pump solenoid. I left a fitting on here so I could just boop, connect that, crimp them, and I'll have fuel pump all the time. Anyhow, after all the wiring escapade, I found out that my Bosch fuel pump was a knockoff, and it was not powering up. So I pulled that thing off and pulled it apart, and guess what? One of the wires on the magneto inside the fuel pump completely fried off of the magneto. So essentially, be very wary of those Bosch fuel pumps. I didn't realize until after doing more research that they're like extremely faked, and guys do it all the time. So anyhow, lesson learned. I've got an AEM 400 coming. Should be here in 2 days, and we're gonna go straight to E85 with this build. Now for map sensor choice, we've got, what is it? I don't know, let's just get a close up. It's blah, 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 2525, which is like GM 2.5 bar map sensor. This car will never see more than 2.5 bar. Well, not in this build anyways. And yeah, you can see down here, we got the headers wrapped. I got tons of this header wrap off of Amazon for next to nothing. These spark plug wires, I did with that HVAC 380 and then wrap them individually in heat wrap. I have no clue if this is going to work. They could all burn off on the first pass. I don't know, but I had so much extra of this stuff that I was like, you know what? Let me try it before I go ahead and, you know, buy the extra long wires. And if it is an issue, we'll just take this coil pack and we'll put it right down here on the frame and run the wires up. And then, you know, we're not going to have an issue. But we're going to try it this way for now. Oh, I also repainted the valve covers red to kind of match the block. But you can't hardly see anything anymore because there's so much Furtiquery around this joint now. Electronic wires and whatnot. Our hood latch cable, rest in peace. I actually broke it pulling the stroker out because I didn't see it was caught on the frickin' distributor. And it broke it, so we're going to make some custom pull tabs that are going to come up here where we're going to cut the hood, so you can just pull on a tab here, pull on a tab here, pull on a tab here, and pop the hood. The cable was already so stretched out that I was having a hard time opening the hood before anyway. Over here on this side, let's see if it's kind of hard to see, but what I did was I cut a section as wide as the brake booster out of the truck manifold, and then I welded a flat plate down over the gap with 2 half moons on either side of the flat plate so that we got clearance for our brake booster. And one more thing that I have to do, I have some heat foil, and we're going to go ahead and wrap the whole this whole side of the booster in heat foil because this is plastic. And that's another thing that, you know, we may run into issues. If that starts melting this, we're going to have to figure that out. And that's kind of what I was talking about when I was talking about a guy might put his manifolds down and under. But, you know, it is what it is for now. Same deal with the coil packs over on this side. What else? Over here, of course, to control your fans, guys, you got your green and black wire here. You just run yourself a wire into the cabin, put one side on a toggle switch, put the other side on a grounded source. You can run your fans off of that. And the cool part is, if you leave your grounded source on, this fan only gets power when you key the ignition on. So you can't just leave the switch grounded all the time. Anytime you turn on the key, the fan will fire up. So yeah, pretty cool. And then for oil feeds, we've got back yonder. This is another thing I might redo, not sure yet. But we've got down in the LS block, we've got an M16 by 1.5 bolt cut in half, drilled out with a 3/8 T on top of it. That 3/8 T in turn has our oil pressure sending unit plugged into it. Then on top of that, it has a 3/8 coupler and 2 extensions, 1-inch extensions, into a 3/8 plug with a 1/8-inch MPT top side, so that we can screw our oil feed into that. And yeah, so then, gosh, I don't know how well the camera's picking that up, but that's the way she goes. And then that in turn wraps around yonder and feeds the turbo. As far as fuel lines go, we've got our LS truck fuel lines. Very simple. These run down and around and made up with the stock C4 Corvette fuel lines. And I also kept the 500, I think it's 500 micron. I don't know what it is. It's a brand new C4 Corvette filter. That works out really, really nicely. And then of course we've got our brake booster line, and we've got our plugged right into the LS brake booster line on the back of the manifold. That actually fit really well. It's a really, really easy thing to do. We've got our Holley power harnesses come right over here. And what else? Oh, as far as the alternator goes, I haven't messed around with this that much, but this is actually really easy. All we're going to do is run our big red power wire to this wire here, and then we are going to put a 470 ohm resistor on our other plug here. I can't remember which one it is, but you can look that up. That's really, really easy. Just search up LS alternator, blah, 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 and you'll come up with a 470 ohm resistor. Let's see, what else do we got to review here? Oh, so for our transmission, we've got a 6.0 2005 6-liter flex plate. Comes stock with a spacer on the back of it. Works perfectly to space the flex plate out to the 700 R4 transmission. Now take note, if you guys have a stock 704R converter, that you're going to have to hog out the holes a little bit. Make sure you round them off nice. But if you have an aftermarket converter with dual bolt hole patterns, you're going to be good. It's actually will bolt right up. It's got perfect spacing, no issues there. And so everything from the back of the motor after that 6.0 flex plate is just all C4 stuff. So, and that's all stock stuff. As far as tire goes, I'm going to keep my street tires on it because I feel like if we do put a small tire on this, it's going to end the fun real quick. So we're going to more or less just try and back half the car and just have fun with it. You know, not being too serious, too competitive. Just want it to be a really fun street car. And I don't want to, you know, if it puts everything down and hooks up, I'm pretty sure it will detonate the trans or the rear end basically instantly. So then we've got our Vortec cover there. Overall, I think it looks pretty cool. It's a lot more wiring than I would like, especially compared to the stroker. And these pipes are just kind of hanging in there right now. I don't have clamps on them because I'm still adjustifying stuff. But you know, our hood, she's going back on, no problem. But the big deal right now with the hood is that, you know, we're gonna have to chop a hole for the turbo. We're gonna have to chop some more out from where the carb used to sit for the motor there, because it does sit high. We've got no windshield wiper motor, no problem. We don't drive in the rain. Yeah, what else? That's about it. You know, the headlights are going to be an issue. We're going to cross that bridge when we come to it. I actually might delete the guts of the headlights and put some really bright LEDs down low. But again, we're going to kind of cross that bridge when we come to it. But otherwise, yeah, that's where she is. And I just wanted to take a moment and show you guys what's going on with the car. See if you guys want to get pumped up about C4s again. Because you know what? These things are cheap, and you know, LSs are cheap too. And you don't even have to do the turbo. Just with this 5.3, this thing was smashed compared to, you know, an L98. And this, you could put a big cam in and everything and have a really fun, naturally aspirated car. I really wanted to do the turbo thing because I just want to do it. It looks so fun. Guess what? I never had a turbo Corvette, but we do now. So again, thank you guys so much for watching my stuff. Leave a comment. You know, shoot me a link, send me a picture of your C4, what you're doing with it this year. And yeah, let's get out there. Let's have some fun. All right, guys, take it easy.